You Spurs, Adrian.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday night edition of SpursDieHards TTID Tottenham Till I Die. I'm in a mood for a rant tonight, so I don't know about my guests. So I better introduce you first of all to the guests. We've got to start at the bottom first. On the left, someone probably a number of you will know, Harry Scarfy. Good evening, Harry.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to getting into it. My first time on this great new channel, so looking forward to getting into it.
Hopefully not the last yet. Welcome to you, Harry. In the middle, zookeeper Tom. He's been on our show before. Glad to have you back, Tom.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. Yeah, looking forward to a rant.
And of course, on the right, then we have Jose from kokeoleol.
eltel kokeoleol.
Yeah.
eltel kokeoleol, even.
Top right, we have Queen Ellie. I'm still in love with you, Hoy Bear.
Yes, I am. And I've planned the trip to Marseille, don't you worry.
and co-host and co-founder as well, Adrian. Good evening to you, Adrian.
Good evening. The dinosaur is in the building, okay?
The dinosaur is in the building. I didn't
The historian dinosaur.
I need to say a few special hellos to people in the chat. First of all, good evening, Just a Harmless Potato. Great name, if nothing else. Louis is my 10-year-old grandson, so he's now an internet star. Brian's in the back room. Do you want to just let him in, Adrian?
Yeah. Where is he?
And we have Spurs GCTV. Good evening, Phil, and to you, Scott, Mark, one of our admin team. Good evening, Mark. Nita, always good to see you too, Nita. Ronnie, big up, Coys. Chris Peters, welcome panel and evening panel, and evening to you. And I think that's covered everybody off for now. The last person, probably some of you don't know, on the bottom of the screen there.
My grandpa is so cringe.
Somebody who has a higher media profile than Donald Trump. So welcome to my friend in Toronto, Brian Daigle. Good evening.
Good evening, Ian. So good evening to all the panel. Good evening to
Daigle's in the house. The Daigle's in the house.
Good evening to everyone in the chat. And Ian, I'm looking forward to this one because you said you're going to be the one ranting. So
I'm gonna rant.
Just little old me here, gonna sit here, got nothing to say. I look forward to seeing this.
Yeah, well, let you say if you think I'm talking rubbish. Good evening, Colin. Sorry to see you're not well. So let's go have a look. I'm not happy. We'll talk about the game in a second, but I'm not happy because I saw the goals that we conceded, and I'm going, it's the same old, vulnerable at the back, set pieces, absolute rubbish. And you go, what are we learning? What are we coaching? I'm also angry because I saw the 3 established midfield players that should be our starting lineup in midfield of Madison and Sarr and Bissouma, totally outshone by the kids that we've got. So I'm not a happy bunny. I'm not a happy bunny at all. So we will talk as we go through the night, but you've got an idea of what my agenda is. And people in the chat as well, by the way, please give your comments in. Starting lineup, Harry, let's start with you. That was the starting lineup. Was that what you expected, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, kind of. Obviously, there was talk about Solanke beforehand, but it seemed too late for him to feature at all. So, you know, I think it was kind of the expected lineup. Obviously, we'll get into Shuba a little bit later, but in like the set piece problems, I mean, that defence there, it still should. I know it's not, you know, the defence that we see going into the season, but it still should be good enough to deal with those set pieces. So, yeah, it's a fairly strong team. It's a team that have a go at Bayern. Obviously, yeah, as I said, we will get into what happened, but that is a strong team looking closer, like we see going into the new season compared to what we've seen at times throughout pre-season. So, yeah, no, I was happy with that lineup.
Tom, what about you?
I think for me, we're going to talk about set pieces quite a lot, I imagine, in this. My overwhelming concern with that team is how many players on that team are over 6 foot. And I think we can talk about coaching set pieces and defensive set pieces, but our biggest problem is we just don't have any big players. We've gone from a team that was full of massive players, Wanyama, Dembele, Alderweireld, Vertonghen, even Walker, you know, Kane, Ali. These are all guys that were good in the air and winning the ball. Whereas Porro, tiny. Davis, tiny. Spence, tiny. Bissouma, tiny. Madison, tiny. Johnson, tiny. They're all really small players. And I think coaching a defensive set piece is important, of course, but just having those big guys that can actually win a ball in the air, we're missing that quite sorely. And hopefully a Solanke helps that. Hopefully Romero coming back in helps that. Van der Ven, although I don't think actually for his size is as good in the air as what he probably should be. Yeah, I think set pieces will be an ongoing thing this season, and people will talk about defensive coaches, set piece coaches, but you do need a bit of size about you as well to help with that.
Yeah. Harmless potato. I won't change the screen at the moment, but it's Tom, zookeeper Tom. Actually, his dad's been a good friend of mine since we were little boys, but Tom knows a fair bit about this game, which is why I have him on. Jose, you follow up Tom's comments?
Yeah, it wasn't nice to see. It was pre-season. It wasn't nice to see, but I'm looking for big improvements from the start of the season, from the first game. And that starts off with Solanke coming in. The best defensive formation is defending from the front. And Solanke presses and Solanke will defend from the front. Yeah, you're quite right. Tom was quite right. The starting lineup yesterday didn't have all the tall players in it, but you still got a doggy, Van der Ven, Romero to come back into that side, who are all 6 footers. Solanke's a 6 footer, and he'll come back into that side as well. Bentancur is a 6 footer. If he ends up starting the game, he's a 6 footer as well. So you've got height to come back in, but yeah, for me, you defend from the front. I said this on my show earlier on the day. When I grew up playing football, and you watched the Liverpool of the 70s, Ian Rush, 70s and 80s, Kevin Keegan, Kenny Dalglish, Ian Rush. These are the players that defended from the front and did the pressing and stuff like that. And I'm just hoping that with Solanke, that's the way that we'll go. So, yeah, yesterday wasn't nice to see. I think that Vicario has now made a couple of mistakes in consecutive games with his passing out from the box to the centre midfielder. If the centre midfielder, and I know that we want to take the ball in tight spaces and that, but if the centre midfielder drops to pick the ball up and someone's up his backside, but not just up his backside, legs and body all over him, like carrying him like a spider, going for the kill, then what we should be doing is should be dropping the ball beyond into the half spaces, into the areas. And he did this after we conceded a goal. He started doing that. He did this in the first game against Bayern. After he made the mistake, he then did what I'm referring to. And then, defensively, some of the second and third goal for me, it wasn't just the lack of the marking and the attacking the ball. I only watched it live. I haven't watched it since. But to me, there was a second player. There was an overlap. There was a second player there. So the person that won the ball for Bayern, there was still another player unmarked beyond that player. So therefore, it meant that somebody, for me, wasn't doing their job because two of them people were being marked by one of ours. I think Sarr for the first goal and Kulu for the second goal. But they had two players, and it shouldn't have been like that.
I thought Spence was weak on the two of the goals anyway. But comment there. Whoops. Can I? Can't. I'm pressing the wrong buttons here. Sorry about that. Let me just find it. Yeah, there's Phil's comment. Maybe you want to pick up with that. I'm pressing on my phone when I'm on my iPad. Excuse me, Ellie.
Yes.
Phil comment. I mean, I have to say, I'm a total agreement with this. Zonal marking, never been a fan of it. Man marking all the way. What do you say to that? You've got some coaching knowledge, so you tell us.
I'm going to hark back to Dave Mackay days, right? And also Steve Perriman, because they were two great players for us. One a captain, one fantastic defender, stroke midfielder when he wanted to play midfield, right? In Dave Mackay, they always organised the defence before we even started the match. You do it in the training room, right? You'll say, right, who's their danger men? Gnabry, because of his movement, and he's not a big guy. Right, he was causing us all sorts of problems with his clever darting runs and making an angle for himself. So you've got to watch out for the little players as well as the big players who are physical on the corners, right? Because they can create havoc as well. All right, so I'm not one for zonal marking because you're just marking space, right? You take your man, like Dave Mackay said. You take him, I'll take him. If you lose your marker, that's your fault. Right? And I'm going to give you hell. I'm going to give you hell for losing your marker. Right? So I always like man marking myself, and I would coach it. All right, because I think it's responsibility in a team. You know, you've got to take your man and make sure that you don't lose him. And if you lose him, you're going to get help from me because I'm the captain. Or I'm the coach. All right. So next game, if you do it again, you're out the team. You're on the bench. We're getting some blisters on your bum. That's what I say. Right. So there you go. That's my take on it. You've got to watch out for the nippy men. Make sure that a nippy man is marking the nippy man because a nippy man has got the speed to mark the nippy man. Yeah. Right. If you put a big lummox on him, the movement of a big lummox is not as good as a nippy man. And our nippy man is Porro. Porro is very nippy, right? So I always feel you've got to be organised before you start the match, who you're going to be marking. And it doesn't look like we do any of that. So I'm not going to apologise for Postecoglou because he knows himself that he should be sorting that out.
Going on Ellie's comment, for anyone old enough to remember the late great Terry Wogan, they used to take the mickey out of football commentators in the World Cup and stuff like that. And he says, the commentator says, and he finds Spacewell. What number was Spacewell? You know. So anyway, Adrian, you've got a fair bit to get your teeth into there. Zonal marking, height of the team, lack of concentration at corners and set pieces. What do you think?
I was exasperated with this game on the left, especially because Gnabry was getting so much room on their right. And it wasn't just because of this game. He got so much room on the right in the last game against Bayern as well. Yeah. And again, twice down the left, they was finding a ball down their right, our left to him, because where was Jed Spence? He's coming as left back. Where was he? On the third goal that Muller scored, Jed Spence is standing as left centre back. And we've got a zonal marking line, which is really doing nothing. And even Decky came back to our pat at left back. So I'm not best pleased. You know, I mean, like Spence looked good when he was going forward, but he's got to improve the defensive side of his game. Having said that, there's hope. I believe we're keeping him. I mean, I was very critical of Porro when he first came into the team, especially the away game at Leicester and Newcastle. Those two games, he was awful, right?
Yeah.
He has come on bundles, and I'm glad I'm eating my words because he's technically a very, very good player, right? And he's adapted his game and he's improved. So can we wait for Spence to do that? Well, it was good to see Doggy back, right? Trying to drive forward. But we had a lot of issues, and it's like losing the ball again in midfield. It's a question of getting back, the recoveries and all that. Too slow. We caused ourselves a lot of problems, and the goals we give away, they were soft. They were really soft goals, you know. So I'll leave it there before I go on too long.
Say that again. Have you frozen on me?
You need to go to Brian there, Ian. He hasn't spoken.
Yeah, okay. Right, well, fine, Brian. Let's bring you in. Did you manage to catch the game?
Yeah, I did. I watched the game. Shambolic. I mean, everyone's talking about the defence. What I will say, Jose said about not having the tall players out. We had all the tall players out last season. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who we have out. We leave that far post. I think we're going back to COVID days and we're social distancing from the far post. Because we do it time and time again. It's happened through pre-season. It happened last season. And it looks like it's going to happen again. And obviously, Ian, you and I have spoken many a time because obviously you've seen Andrew at very, very close quarters. This is, and he's got to address this because if you look at it right now, I think every team in the Premier League will be praying for a free kick against Tottenham because they know exactly what to do. We'll overload on the far post. They'll leave it completely non-existent, and we'll have a field day. And I don't blame the teams for doing that. When you find someone's Achilles heel, you keep banging the pressure on it. Yeah, and this is a game of football. Now it comes to the Premier League where the game is over, the time is up. It's now business time, and he needs to address this because it is a huge Achilles heel in Andrew's side at the moment.
Brian, let me go through some stats. I didn't know these only came in on the 7 hours old, this tweet, but I only picked it up just before we went on air. And I'm going to bring you all in on this because I think it's really significant. In the 19 Premier League games that Porro, Kuti, Van der Ven and Udogie played together, we conceded 20 goals. So just about won a game in the 19, the first choice back 4-5 if you include Vicario played. In the 26 games where 3 of those 4 played, we conceded 33. In the 12 games where 2 of those 4 played, we conceded 30. So I don't know if anyone wants to come in on that. I know you start, Brian, and then maybe I'll bring in Harry and go back through the panel. But that would suggest that the biggest problem is the lack of depth in the squad. That the Davises and the whatever of this world, the Reguilons, just aren't up to it.
You could also say in the lack of depth. If Van der Ven's injured and you play a high line and you take the fastest man out of your defence out, you're going to get caught. You're going to get burned. If you're going to play so expansive and have your fullbacks so high up, you need to have a rock hard midfielder, a Paulinho, for example. If we do Spurs terms, a Wanyama, a Dembele, a Sandro, a Dave Mackay, like Queen Ellie mentioned, and you can go back, and Alan Mullery. You need a midfielder in there to give them the space, not give as much space to them. We are so open to get to that back 4. It's ridiculous. It's insane. I remember when we had Pochettino, I really didn't like seeing Danny Rose to start off with at left back because he was brilliant going forward. And this is when I was going all the time. We we got exposed down the left-hand side, or their right, because he was out of position from being so far up the pitch. We need to find. Mark's just mentioned another one, Graham Roberts. If we're going to play this way, we need a midfielder that could be a battering ram and support them. You cannot keep doing this. We are so open. We are so exposed that it doesn't matter what defenders you get in there. It's going to be like it's like a hot knife through butter to get through our midfield at times, and it's not. It needs to stop.
Harry, you want to come in on that?
You're on mute.
Yeah, Harry.
Sorry. That's my fault. I completely agree with what Brian said. Yeah, that's all right. It's my fault. I agree with what Brian said, and I think that whatever defence that is, I think you're going to concede goals because the way we play football and the zonal marking, I do think it's an issue. I'm surprised by the lack of people talking about it, and I know it's only pre-season. This is an ongoing issue we saw last year. It's going to be an ongoing issue whether we like it or not this season if it's not addressed. I don't know how many warnings you get. Okay, it happens in one game. Where you concede 1-2 goals in set pieces. That North London derby, unacceptable. We lost that game because of set pieces, whether people like to hear it or not. We conceded 2 goals against Arsenal. We conceded 2 again from set pieces against Bayern. In that Arsenal game, there's only a doggy in that whole backfire that was missing. And, I don't look at a doggy for height or, to win the ball. So ultimately, we're leaving players unmarked. We're very easy to score against. And that's ultimately the problem. Last season, we didn't have the depth or the quality in attacking positions to go and get the second goal, put the game away. So then we were conceding in situations like this. So I hope that maybe Solanke changes that. But it is an ongoing issue. And I think whoever you have in there, it's not good enough. Of course, the players have a responsibility. As Ellie was talking about earlier, I'm going to go with him. And you do take the responsibility when you're on the pitch. But a lot of it is down to the manager, the way he sets out to play. And he's already said he doesn't last season. He didn't see it as a difference maker from taking us to, from A to B. And that, for me, is concerning to hear because it is an issue. It's an issue that the manager hasn't addressed. And that's quite disappointing.
One thing very, very quick. What I will add very, very quickly is last season, especially the Arsenal game, and probably the game against Bayern Munich, just for 2 examples, when those set pieces came in, I think every Spurs fan said, "Uh-oh, got a goal's incoming." Yeah. You, as fans, we can see it. As fans, we're like, "Uh-oh," and if we can see it, why is it not being addressed? If we can clearly see it.
I mean, everybody that knows me on social media and in chat, in the streams and what have you, knows I'm a huge Ange disciple. But one of the reasons why I said I was in a mood for a rant tonight was I can't defend the guy if we keep, the definition of stupidity is to keep doing the same thing and watch it fail time and time again. And if we keep doing the same thing, people say, "Oh, Angie's going to be out. Angie's going to be out." But I don't see it. But if things don't change, then Tom, we're going to be looking for a new manager again, are we?
No, I don't think so. It's difficult because I agree everything what everyone is saying, but my take on it is that the free kick happens because we've made a mistake further up the pitch. And I think this is what Ange is looking at. I think he, rightly or wrongly, he is being stubborn, but also he is sticking to his guns. And I think if we're doing everything perfectly right with maintaining and holding on to the ball and creating chance after chance after chance, and we're still conceding those goals, I think he then will make a problem. I think he is right to say that there is issues in the all-round game with maintaining possession, with creating enough chances, with things like that, which then seems to have this knock-on effect. Of course, look, a quick fix would be to sort out the free kicks, and we should be doing that. I don't know why we're not doing that, although you could argue it's pre-season. Is there other things to work on in pre-season? I don't know. I'm not in the football club and doing all of that stuff, but it so many times. I mean, one of the goals we conceded because of terrible playing out from the back. You can improve that by quite easily. And to be honest with you, what that looked like to me in that situation with Vicario's pass is that they had been trained, right? You pass it here, and then it goes into Basuma, who turns out and passes it forward. And Vicario has just not looked. So hopefully that's a lesson learned for him, and he'll actually look and see if Basuma's got a man on him. But I mean, the 2 free kicks that we conceded from yesterday, I'm fairly confident both those free kicks were given away by Dragusin diving in pretty needlessly. So if you want to solve a problem of defending free kicks, well, don't give away stupid free kicks in the first place. Don't lose the possession high up the pitch or in the middle third is where we seem to be losing it at the moment. You know, Son is great at getting the ball and trying to take on a man, but he's not a guy who recycles and retains possession, which is where your players like your Eze comes in if he was a player we was to be able to get to do that. Also, a Solanke, he's going to help massively with that. He's going to push the defenders back because he likes to make runs in behind. That's going to give more space to the midfield. So, yeah, I definitely, you know, if halfway through the season we're still conceding these free kicks, then of course, I think like from these set pieces, I think rightly we need to then start critiquing on Ange. But I do think there is still more that could be done further up the pitch to stop these counters, to stop these diving in challenges which we're conceding these free kicks from, and that will go a long way to, you know, best way to defend a set piece is to not give away a set piece in the first place, right? So if we can improve that, and a defensive midfielder who is good at tracking back on the transition would really, really help that. But also, again, players up top that can hold on to the ball, not give it away stupidly like we keep doing, and create more chances, and then hopefully that will have a knock-on effect with that. But it's going to be
very quickly, because I said want to bring everybody in. Comment from your dad there, though. I was there and I watched it on telly. Bayern had men all the time on both wings, especially the first half. I mean, they just overloaded down the flanks. It was just too easy to play against us.
Yeah, agreed. And I think this is unfortunately the downside to the inverting fullbacks, right? So they go in, they leave massive space. So of course, like, I mean, if I was Sunday League and I was noticing that, I'd be saying, let's leave 4 men up top because we'll win the ball back at some point and then we can just lump it up there and, you know, we're 4-on-2. So 100%, but that's again where you need that intelligent defensive midfielder who's gonna step in and make that two at the back or 3 at the back, and also again, just if we can retain that possession. But also your Doggy and Porro have got to use their brains a little bit themselves, and you know, if they see that's happening, then maybe one of them has to go, one of them has to stay. There's a lot to Andrew's system that we clearly still need to learn, and I think he has said that. All the players have said that as well. So it's not like we've had one season with him and then bang, everything's going to be perfect. Like it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that with Guardiola at City. It wasn't like that with Klopp at Liverpool. You know, Arteta at Arsenal. I don't want to say that word, but you know, things don't happen after one season. So there's still going to be teething issues. You know, there's so many players in this team that we all still don't think are good enough. We've got rid of a lot, which is great. We need to start bringing more players in now, and that's, I think, where the if you get better players, then some of these issues go away. And that's just a simple fact, unfortunately, that Daniel Levy probably doesn't want to hear.
Jose, before I bring you in, I presume this is talking about us. I hope it's talking about us. Anyway, 700 subs. We're pretty well a new channel. 700 subs. There's 50. It's going up all the time. 57 now of you in the chat. So if you've not subbed and liked and subbed, please like and sub. You know, it helps the channel enormously. Jose, there's a fair bit again of comments about style, about marking, about everything about how we're playing. What's your take? Am I overreacting or?
So for me, I'm hearing what everyone's saying, and what I'm going to say is that we have recycled in the sense of where we were 12 months ago. We've recycled again. Players have left the club. Players are coming into the club. This pre-season has been a proper one compared to the last pre-season that we had last year. And I said this last week on the show. Playing football, when I play football, and still now when I play football, we always talk about looking after the ball. If you don't lose the ball and you keep possession, then you're not going to make the mistakes. So I just think that with the players that we've got now, and the players that we've brought in, and the players that are solely training at the moment, These are players that he believes can play the system that he wants to play and will look after the ball and, will do the things that he wants to do. As opposed to last year, where we were using players to play matches and we were forced to because that's the hand that you were dealt with. That's the squad you've got. And I don't think it worked quite that well last year. But I'm hoping, and I'm going to say I'm hoping because I'm not a coach at the club, but I'm hoping that these players will pick up on what they're being coached in time for when the season starts. If you look after the ball, you don't give it away, then you don't make the mistakes that lead to occasions where corners, free kicks, or where you get these problems that happened to us yesterday, where there's an overload in the area and our players don't know who to mark and where to go. So there's a whole matter of things, and it needs to be worked on. It's not going to be a fine art that's going to be done now. Had we had some, it might have been different if we had some Italian coaches, because the Italians are masters at defending, aren't they? And if we'd had some more Italian coaches, I don't know what Raimundo is. Raimundo Italian? Does anyone know?
Anyone know?
I wouldn't say our defence was much better under the last Italian manager, though.
I'll Google it.
I think he's Portuguese. Yeah. He came with Nick Montgomery, didn't they? They were with they won the title with Mariners in Australia, and then they went to manage Hibs and Scottish under-21s.
Yeah, well, a few Italians pride themselves in defending, so we couldn't do worse than get a couple of Italian coaches in to help our defending techniques. But yeah, as I said, I'm pretty much with Tom with what Tom said. Other than if you don't give away the free kicks, then you limit the amount of goals that are going to be scored that way. But then I also believe that if you look after the ball as well, then you don't put yourself in these positions. So I just think it's a case of, I think we should be in a better position come start of the season than where we were last season. Funnily enough, I think the stat came out to say that up until December, we hadn't conceded any goals from free kicks and corners. And then after that, I think we conceded 14 in the last 6 months of the season. We conceded 14. And for me, in all honesty, it's probably 13 too many.
Okay. Milton, I have to leave that comment up. Milton Nabriga, thank you for that. Yeah. Well, that's what we're trying to achieve here is to get on interesting guests with good knowledge of the game to keep everybody interested and online. Ellie, again, if you don't lose possession of the football, you can't concede a goal. I've been harping on about that for weeks, but
well, I would suggest the players get on their physicality and their aggression, because there's only, like Adrian very eloquently puts, the aggression in our team is quite poor, and we need to have more aggression. So we need to have that shithousery as well, because sometimes, like the Italians do, they use a bit of shithousery, they use a bit of guile, and also desire. I was always taught as a footballer, you have to have the desire. If you've got the desire, you've got the will, right? And then you can, even if you haven't got the technical ability, right, if you've got desire, you can overcome a lot of things in football. And it all bodes well for the team as a whole if you're working as a unit, right? So like defending from the front, pressing, keeping focused, right? Focus is very important in football. You lose focus for 1 second, you could be 1-0 down, right? And then you're chasing the game. You've got to get a goal back and another goal to win the game. So all these ingredients make for a fantastic football team, and we're lacking in a lot of areas. Although we have got some technical skill and we have got some aggression, we haven't got enough of it. So we need more technical players who can hold the ball like Kulu, because Kulu comes in for a lot of criticism. But one thing he can do is nurture the ball and keep it and carry it forward, right? And you saw with his 2 goals how well he took them, all right? And tenacity is another one, right? If you've got tenacity, then you will want to win that ball, right? And you win it cleanly, right, without giving a foul, because we gave away so many free kicks through late tackles, mistimed And you've got to really be focused as well when you do that. So when you go for the ball, and you make it clean. Yeah, so that's about focus. Yeah, and I was always taught that as a footballer as well. But the main ingredients, I think, all the ingredients I mentioned, but aggression, we need more aggression. And I agree with, I agree with the historian, right, that we need more aggression in the team so that we can win more matches, right? Because you see the best teams have got a lot of shithousery. And if you go to Italy, they pride themselves on their shithousery as well as their great defending. Because you saw it in the Euros when Bellini pulled back Saka and he took one for the team, right? So I'm not saying be dirty. I'm saying just do it when you have to do it and use the aggression in the right way to win that ball. Yeah, that's all I've got to say, really.
Yeah. For those of you in the chat that don't know, Ellie used to play for Spurs women a year or two ago in her young days.
Yeah, quite a number of years ago, I must add. But it's getting more years as I grow older.
Yeah. Adrian, your own thoughts about before we move on, our defensive frailties?
Vicario's got to be more proactive. He's got to be partly responsible for marshalling the defence. We overload all the front area of the zonal line, and we let people overload us on the far post. That's not good enough. And the players need to take some responsibility here as well, because if you see players behind you, you do something about it. It doesn't take much at football IQ to stand back. I mean, like Spence being at left centre back for the third goal when Muller scored. He should have been further back left before Decky come down in a left back position. If you watch the replay, right? And Decky's got a good football IQ. But those players that were in the line, we had 6 there in the box in one line on that third goal, and 2 of them were in front marking no one. They weren't near anyone, and the ball's not kicked in, so there's no threat there. So they should have all been back at least another 10 feet back this way and marking them. Because I remember Arsenal doing it at our stadium. All the teams would come and were overloading the back post because for some reason we had this mad line in front of them as if they thought the ball was going to come in short and it could be cleared or something. And another thing with Vicario, what he's got to do, which he's stopped doing, which he was so good at. When we played Brentford away that last season, Romero went off and all that, he was throwing the ball out. He threw the ball out to the halfway line and his distribution was quicker. It's slowing down now. He's starting to look around too much before he gets rid of the ball. And that's allowing teams to press our defenders. And when he's bowled it out a couple of times, it's gone wrong and it's resulted in goals against us. He's got to do things. He's got to be more decisive, more proactive, and he's got to do things quickly. I mean, Lloris, for a great goalkeeper he was for us, he was a right diverer, wasn't he, when he had the ball? I mean, and teams would be well set before he even give the ball out. And the longer he waited, the less opportunity he had for getting rid of the ball. I mean, I'm all for, I don't agree with Angie in every respect. I get why we want to play out the back. You keep possession. When it works, it's great. You know, I get all that. But there are times if your players are really under pressure, hoof it. I know the reason you don't, because then it becomes percentage football. Either you win the second ball or
he's frozen again.
Hoof it.
Yeah. Sorry, you froze again on me.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Who froze? All right. Okay. All right, I'll stop there.
Harry, I'll bring you in quickly because I know you need to shoot. So if I get you to talk, I put out what I thought was I don't think I've spelled you're right, but the significant substitutions in the second half. I mean, a couple of points. One, we went to pretty well to our regular back four, and suddenly we looked a lot more solid. If you want to put it that way, we won the second half 1-0.
Yeah.
And the kids, so I mean, well, the kids that came on, the Bergvalls of this world, the Moores of this world. I've left out Gray, haven't I? Because I'm an idiot. The Greys of this world were far better than the players they replaced.
They were, yeah. I think the young players have done very well because it is only pre-season, but I think what we've seen is very, very promising. In particular from Bergevall, you're very consistent. More we know, I think we were talking about potential generational talent here. I think Gray's done well and just clearly trusted him in other positions when we've had players unavailable, for example, at centre-back. And he's done very, very well and stepped up to the plate. But yeah, we looked a lot calmer when players like Romero and Van der Ven come on. Right? Not many minutes under their belt, if any, in pre-season, just come back, but they already had that calmness of defence. You know, saw Romero, one of his tackles as the ball was going out of play. We knew Romero was back from that. So, no, I think it's really, really good to see. So those substitutions all had an impact. So, yeah, no complaints at all, really. I'm thinking Bentancur will be interesting to see what kind of season he has and how much minutes they get to play. But we got Leicester, you know, it's not long. You know, it's like 8 days now for Spurs. Season starts before that we play last. So it'll be really interesting to see what that lineup is. Where I'm really interested to see is that midfield, because if it's based off form, the likes of Maddison simply do not start, and the likes of Bergevall do start. But I really want to see what it looks like. I've been one saying that I think it's too soon for Bergevall to start, but the more games I've seen and the more, whether it be compilations or highlights that I see from, in particular, Bergevall, it does look very, very good. But no, all the substitutions, I think, done quite well.
Yeah, sorry. Just before you go, two things, I think, if you've got time. What do you think of Ollie Skip? You're on it yesterday, but in all of the pre-season games, because he seems to me, whether he's played at left back, centre half, right side midfield, centre midfield, he's given 110% and been at least as effective as some of the so-called better players.
Yeah, I think he's done well. If I'm totally honest with you, I wouldn't, be opposed to listening to offers for him. I think for his sake, we obviously, when you're the Spurs boy, if you like, and your boyhood club, it's very, very hard. We saw it with Harry Winks, but I think sometimes you have to accept that we're probably not going to give him the minutes that he wants or needs for his career. So I think elsewhere, maybe lower down in the Premier League, clubs have come up that may need a midfielder, I think would suit Skip. But I think Ange really, really likes Ollie Skip as a player to come in and play numerous positions. So it would be left back at Anfield when Royale's made a mess of it and then fought for 3 goals. So I thought Skip has done well, been used in a lot of different positions, and he's done that with a couple of players. I mentioned Archie Gray as well, and it's nice to have that player where you go, they're experienced enough, they've got the quality to be able to trust them in numerous positions. You need that player where you go, you can play there, and play there. And he's one of those players. So no, he's done well. He always gives 110%. That's what you're guaranteed of a Skip, and that's good to have. That's what you should expect off of every player. But sadly, you don't quite get
that. If you want to nip off Harry, you want to plug your own show. I know you've got a successful show for a young man.
Yeah.
No, firstly, thank you very much for having me on. It's fantastic. Do subscribe to the SpursDieHards. I've just checked, and if you hit over 700 subscribers, that's fantastic for a new channel. So congratulations on that. If you want to check out my channel, you can. Scarfy Spurs. We're doing a lot of content, mostly daily at the moment. Whether it be daily lives, reacting to news, but weekly shows such as Monday 7:45 p.m. with guests. Got Billy T on Monday. Got quite a few big guests coming up as well as we go throughout the season, and the Premier League show is back this Wednesday evening as well. So no, it's all going well, but thank you very much for having me. A big up all of you.
You've got an extraordinary good guest on tomorrow night, I heard.
Yes, yourself. Yes, you had me thinking then. The shoe. I should have gone yes.
I'll see you tomorrow,
it should be a good one. See you tomorrow. Thank you all. Big up. See you later.
Thank you, Harry.
Bye.
What a lad. Great lad.
Let's bring you in on that second half performance, because it was much improved, wasn't it?
Well, it could be much worse. Let's face it. It couldn't. If they'd done worse, they'd have really turned out a rotten performance. It's a shame that it's come to this where, well, not a shame, but the youngsters have outshone the first teamers. They really have. If you're looking at who's had the better pre-season, prime example to give, my boy Alfie Devine. Everyone has forgotten about him because of going out on loans and wanted to see the younger ones that have been thriving. He's come and grabbed his place. So have many of the others. It's just a shame that we've had to see this, because I would have liked to have seen our first team has really put in a performance yesterday, and really get more than 45 minutes to go. Right, we're ready and raring to go. They haven't. Apart from Kulusevski, who's obviously got the goals, and when he's playing centrally, he's a different animal to the Dejan predictability we have when he's on the right wing. It's the youngsters. I can see people in the chat as well. Archie Gray, I've been impressed with. I have been very impressed with Archie Gray. Yes, he's given the ball away a few times. He's looked better actually in defence than he did in midfield. I believe there's some talent there. And as you said, seeing Destiny come back, seeing Romero and Van der Ven come back, it was always going to be better. Hearing that, it does make me laugh when people say we won the second half. If only that was a real thing. If only that was real and we got 3 points for that, it would be wonderful. Like I said, they've just got to pull their socks up because we can't. If we attack the Premier League the way we've attacked pre-season friendlies with second half Tottenham again, and the youngsters come, we're going to be in a bit of trouble. We're going to be in a bit of trouble very, very quickly. But like you said, it couldn't have been worse in the first half. And at least there was some decent things to take away in the second half.
Tom, it's encouraging that we were a lot better in the second half, but it's worrying that the so-called established pros just aren't delivering. Oh, Tom, you're on mute.
Sorry, my bad. 100%. It's frustrating. The one thing I've been thinking about is whether or not some of the established first 11 haven't been going full-heartedly in these friendly games, not wanting to pick up injuries beforehand. You like see your Madisons and stuff like that. Whereas the youngsters, they're trying to make a name for themselves and then going more for it. Traditionally in these friendlies, both teams make a lot of substitutes at half time, so you're getting, a worse team in on the second half from the opposite team and stuff as well. But it's frustrating. I'm not at this moment. I'm not going to get myself too over frustrated about friendly games. I think I said it in a chat a while ago that, our pre-season under Juan de Ramos, we were beating teams. I think we beat Barcelona 7-2. We were beating teams left, right, and centre. And then 10 games into the season, we had only got 2 points. So friendlies are a mixture of things. It's frustrating. I think the most frustrating thing is that we've only had our full first team for one game. That's the most frustrating thing. Only having our defense Romeros, your Van der Vens and your Dogies in play, and unfortunately we can only really blame international football for that. So that is frustrating. But you would assume that most teams are kind of in the same boat with that. But it's nice to see the youngsters, stepping up and playing well. Like we said, we've got lots of good youngsters that are there pushing the first team, and I truly believe that come the season, if the first 11 aren't doing it, then Ange is going to be brave enough to shove your Bergvalls in, shove your Greys in, put your your Donleys or your Lancashires or players like that in as well. So we'll see. I hope we get some more players in. I think Solanke will make a big difference.
Yeah.
And not. I also think what Adrian was saying earlier about, just hoof it, actually Solanke gives you that option, which we didn't have last year. Like Solanke will chase after everything. He is physically quite good in the air. Not the best, but he's physically quite good in the air, and he will press after everything. And that gives you that option, which we didn't have.
Tom, I'm going to come on to ins and outs in a few minutes because we will want to move on. Jose, you said you've got some interesting statistics in the private chat.
I have. Right, listen, it's only because of what people have been saying in the main chat. I was talking about possessions, right? So I've got the stats for the top 25 players who gave away the most possession last season in the Premiership. As far as I can see, there's not one Man City player in the top 25.
Yeah,
but every other team is covered in the top 25. So I was just going to say, just give me one name each, and I'll tell you whether they're in the top 25 or not. for most possession lost in the Premiership.
Brennan Johnson.
Is not in the top 25.
Declan Rice.
Kulusevski.
Dejan Kulusevski sits at number
Shocking.
18 with 506 possessions lost in 36 matches.
Declan Rice.
Declan Rice is not on this list.
Okay, good.
I would say
No Son.
Well, he didn't really get the ball that much, apart from in the box, did he?
I would
Really?
say Sarr.
No Son. I'll tell you from the top. Bruno Fernandes has given the ball away more than any other player. He's lost 685 possessions in 35 games.
Wow.
Second was Alfie Doughty, 649 possessions in 37 games. Third is Anthony Robinson, 640 possessions in 37 games. Fourth, Pedro Porro.
Yeah, I was going to say him next.
624 in 35 matches. Fifth is Morgan Gibbs White, 610 in 37 matches.
My boy.
Then you've got Thomas Kaminski, Luton's keeper, 604 in 38. Pickford is 593 in 38. Soufal of West Ham, 571 in 36. This is now alarming, right? Trent Alexander-Arnold, 557 in only 28 games. He has got a really bad record. Then you've got people like Paquetá, Guimarães, then Dwight McNeil, Tyrick Mitchell, Kieran Trippier, 538 in 28 games. Bukayo Saka, 532 in 35 games.
Yeah,
then you've got James Trafford, Pascal Gross, Dejan Kulusevski, Nelson Semedo, Andreas Pereira, Joachim Anderson of Palace, Wes Foderingham of Sheffield United, who's now West Ham. Mo Salah, 461 lost possessions.
But if you lose possession, Jose, trying to go round a player and get tackled.
100%.
I mean, that's a world of difference between pissing about at the back, losing it, and the opposition forward not doing it.
This is exactly what I'm
players.
So pretty much all of those players you said were either a creative midfielder or a fullback. What are those players generally doing? They're either a Fernandes who is always playing that Hollywood ball, trying to play a player in. And I think Fernandes is, I'm hit and miss on him, but he's always trying to play that Hollywood pass through to a striker running on. Your Trent Alexander-Arnold, your Poros, Porro is always swinging in crosses. So he's got every time he attempts to cross, he's probably losing possession because he's got a Heung-min Son to aim for rather than a big forward. I think stats like that are super interesting. I think the ones where they are interesting is a Kulusevski, who is not a player who you would associate with trying to either take on a man or either trying to like thread a ball through. He's more a guy who holds on to it and stuff like that, and he's clearly losing possession a bit more. I think losing possession a lot is definitely a really good stat, and it is like decent to know. But I think the context of how they're losing is also pretty important.
Yeah, you've got to put it in context, haven't you? The players that dare to do, like says.
Great. Ellie, if you could take over not the chat, but take over talking for a bit, I can make myself a cup of tea.
Yeah. No, that's one thing I'm good at is talking. Being a woman as well, I'll chew my husband's ear off because his team lost 3-1 against West Brom as well. So I was chewing his ear off over that. Right, but I find players that dare to do, they take risks and they can lose the ball. So I think those stats can be put into context as well, and it will say, that for a fact as well. And the way you do the stats is fantastic because you always give context to it as well. So we really appreciate.
Jose, did you mention any Arsenal players in there? Oops, I said Arsenal. Sorry.
Yeah.
Arsenal get battered everywhere they go. Arsenal get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go. Arsenal get battered everywhere they go. Arsenal get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go.
cool. I love that. Should we mention the other idiots in football, Chelsea?
Oh, you would do that.
Hey, come on. As soon as I go away from the screen, you want to wreck my show, Ellie.
Yeah, I'm the wrecker, Ellie the wrecker. Yeah, but one thing I am as well is very knowledgeable on players that are really, really, really skillful and bring a lot to the game. And I would go in defence of Porro as well, because I love him. I think he's all blood and thunder. He takes risks. He's fantastic at joining the attack. Defensively, he's better than most people think. All right, he's susceptible for the ball over the top. We've seen it. But what he's really good at is recovery and blocking as well. So I love him. I think he's an asset to our team. Yes, he does lose the ball because he takes risks. But I like him. And I think another one who's like that is Saka. I know he's an Arsenal player. And I hope you don't play that Arsenal to get battered again because we've already done it. Right. Right. So, yeah, I just feel that these players, they're the creatives and the ones that get you going, the ones that get you off your seat. They excite you. Right. So Trent Arnold is another one. Grealish. I love him. I think we should have bought him ages ago. Yeah, but you know, like it's anything in football, there's always context, isn't there? So I like players who take risks. Brian Daigle's fantastic player, Gaza. I always think of Brian Daigle when I think of Gaza, you know, Brian, because that player was bloody brilliant. And another one, Gareth Bale, he always took risks. So all these players, they're the ones who get you off your seats. So I don't mind them losing the ball now and then, you know, even if their stats show them that they're quite useless in losing it, they are quite brilliant in other areas of the pitch and creating things for the team. Yeah.
Adrian, don't mind losing the ball, or the system only works if we don't lose the ball?
Well, the system, all systems work if you don't lose the ball, but the point is it's losing the ball and having the aggressive, you know, it's winning it back. When Basuma doesn't track back, that's an issue with me. You know, I mean, a lot of fans, I think, are going to be looking at Basuma and Maddison more than the kids this season because we want to see them like perform like they did the first 10 matches of the season. I mean, I noticed in the Bayern game, actually, Basuma and Maddison did start brightly. Then Maddison got the bat in the back of their head. He probably always was going to go off at half time. But I did notice, actually, that Maddison was dropping a little bit deeper and hitting longer forward balls. I don't know if any of you picked up on that.
Yeah.
I picked up on it. Yeah. A couple of them went astray, a couple of found their men and all that. He looks injury-free, and now he needs to show us what he can do. In one way, it is hard with pre-season games, you know, to really judge players. But just going on the youngsters, I've noticed that every second half of these pre-season games, we've shown so much more energy and bite when the youngsters have come on. And Brian's right, because I'm a big fan of Divine as well. Everyone was raving about Spence, who did well in Scotland, didn't he? And he did okay against QPR, and someone giving a man of the match.
Superb in Scotland, yeah.
Divine ruled that second half against QPR. He ran the show, really, I thought, like, you know. Then you looked at Bergvall against Hearts, right? 55 touches, more touches in the final third than any other player. He pops up everywhere like a mole in your front garden, didn't he? He's on the wings in the middle.
Fantastic.
He's everywhere.
It's like the 10 of him.
But he's effective with it. He's not like a loose cannon. He's effective with it. Then you look at others we've got. I mean, like Donnelly, who was playing at left back, who did a good job. But Wayne Burnett converted him from a striker from Northern Ireland to a number 10. He's got a killer forward defence splitting pass on him. You know, Mikey Moore, what can you say about him? I mean, his stats are just mental, right? 17 today. Happy birthday, Mikey Moore.
Yes.
Come on,
and he signs a 3-year contract, the longest he's allowed to sign under FIFA rules. but I wouldn't mind betting there's an add-on in there for a couple of years. You know what I mean? It should be.
We'll do a Harry Kane add-on.
It should be. So the kids, I think the kids have put experienced players to shame, and I'm glad because I've seen a little bit of urgency in Bissouma's play. These players, look, I think Ange this season, I think we'll have a good season. Depends what you define a good season as, right? But I think we've got a great chance to win the Europa League. But if we get round any player that underperforms by January, if it's a Bissouma or something, and he can't put the grit in his game and do the recoveries instead of strolling back when we concede a goal and all that when he loses the ball, I can see him gone. It doesn't matter how skillful, you've got to put the shift in, right? So he is disappointed. Maddison back from injury, we'll see. I mean, in the first couple of these last few games, he started with Maddison, Bissouma and Sarr. That's going to be his starting three against Leicester in midfield. I know others would like to see Bergville thrown in or something. I think he's going to wait. I think they got more chance of starting in a home game than having an away game, personally. And it'll be second halves, I think. But I'm only guessing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's one thing Ange does. He keeps me perplexed all the time, basically, with his decisions and that. So, keeping the ball. Yeah, I mean, like, it's winning it back. We've got this midfield has got. Look, we all know, don't we? Most games are won and lost in midfield. Now, midfield last season, in the middle of the last part of the season, was pants, as was our forward line. We're not moaning about the back five, and yet we conceded all them goals. Why? Because we know there's talent there. We know they're okay, and they deserve a bit of protection as well, don't they? From the midfield and from the forwards. So, I mean, it is keeping the ball, but I still think we need to go out and get a midfielder with a bit of bite because,
I'll come on to the ins and outs in a minute if I can. Ben, welcome. Bissouma for me has just been inconsistent. There's been times when I think he's looked like the Bissouma. There's just been occasions where that's the Bissouma we bought from Brighton, and then suddenly he just disappears. And it's the same with all of them. Maddison, Sarr, Bissouma. It's just a complete lack of consistency that I'm seeing that's really annoying me. That would be my. That would be my my quibble. But let's talk about ins and outs. Yeah, I said hi earlier. Hi AJ, good evening. Sorry, it probably didn't. If it didn't come through, it may have come through. There is so much going on in the chat and what have you. I'm trying to keep up with everything and talk to the guests as well. So, right, let's talk, Brian. Let's bring you back in, Ben.
Yep.
We look like Emerson is on his way to Milan, and that should be done tomorrow. Lo Celso, funny enough, I saw a tweet by Johnny Hamay today about Lo Celso's stats, and he should be playing ahead of Maddison, but I don't know. He's another one that doesn't do it consistently. Reguilón apparently had discussions with Barcelona over the weekend. Solomon, there's talk the club wants rid of Solomon. To be honest with you, Son, Solomon, and Werner doesn't exactly fill me with great hope, particularly when you've got some of the kids coming through. I mean, I've written there Lancashire linked with Sunderland tonight. He was, and then I put that up before we came on air, and as we went on air, it said Sunderland are interested in Scarlett on loan. So you want to pick up and particularly some of the ins and outs.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to outs, Ian, I've got to point the right.
I'll talk about ins in a minute.
Yeah, when it comes to the outside, I've got to the point now where I really couldn't give two monkeys who goes out right now. We have let go of so many people. The youngsters that need to go out and get loan that need an opportunity, go do it. That I understand, but we have got rid of it. I praise the club and I praise the owners for doing it and getting these people finally out the doors. We are 1 week away from the kickoff. We are numerically a lot weaker. We are numbers short, positions that have been left unattended going into the season. I do not care who leaves this football club anymore now. All I care about the incomings. Emerson's gone. Lo Celso, he's played enough football. He played all summer, so he's due an injury any moment. So I think listen, Lo Celso will be gone by the end of the window. He'll be back in Spain. Reguilon, I could not care about. It's been another bad buy by this football club. Another bad buy. We bought him for Jose. Then we had Conte. Then we had Stellini. Now we got Ange. No one seems to want him. Another bad buy. Solomon needs a loan. Lancashire, if another striker's not coming, does Richarlison stay fit enough? I don't know if he doesn't and Solanke gets injured and then everything's left to Lancashire. I really don't know how I feel about that. And Dane Scarlett, I think, needs to go abroad like Troy Parrott did because he's not getting the minutes in the UK. But I'll let other people talk about the outgoings because what we've done so far, brilliant. How about you now focus on building a team for Ange? I couldn't care about outgoings anymore. That's my take on it, Ian. I think you might know what might be coming when we talk about incomings.
Well, we will because Ange just hinted at those, but we'll come on to that. We'll talk about the outs, and I'm going to talk about the loans out, and then I'm going to talk about the permanent ones in and what we need and where we need them and who we might realistically get. That's basically. I hope you'll all stay on the show because that's the not the guests, the chat because they're the things I think we all know need addressing. Tom, first of all, outs from the club, permanent outs.
Yeah, I mean, much agreed with Brian, to be honest with you. Like we've got rid of players that we've needed to get rid of probably a few seasons ago. But I think, hallelujah, we finally got rid of them because actually what the focus can be on now in the next few transfer windows is getting the, hopefully this transfer window, but over the next few transfer windows is getting the players in that we need rather than going, well, we can't get that player because we've still got Ndombele on the books, or we can't get that player because we've still got Lo Celso on the books. You know, a lot of the times it looks like we've missed out on players because we physically cannot fit them in, although Chelsea don't seem to get the memo on that one. But going out, Emerson, couldn't care less. Lo Celso, I think, is a very good player, but only manages 10 to 15 games a season, which is just not the best ability is availability. We need someone who's going to be available all the time, and he's not it. Solomon, I don't care what happens with him, to be honest with you. The few games I've seen him play for us, I haven't been impressed. So yeah, whatever happens, if we sell him, then a good bit of business on getting a player on free and selling him for some money. Yeah, to be honest, now 100% what Brian said. Ange has even said in his press conferences it was worrying last season when we got these injuries and we didn't have the squad to cope for it. We've now got less of a squad than what we had last season, so we need to get players in. And we're all saying, oh yeah, we need like a couple of players, we need a starter here, a starter there, but yeah, we do need a starter, and I'd much rather us buy starters and then your Basumas become your bench players and things like that. That's what we need to do. But I guess we'll talk about that when we come on.
Yeah, we will. I promise we will, because I think that's what people in the chat are going to want to hear as well. Jose, who do we need out of the club permanently?
I think we've moved on enough. I'm quite happy with everything that people have said. We've moved on enough players. Yeah, there's the 3 Spanish-speaking players probably still got to move out at the moment. But just to throw another name in there, Tottenham Hotspur have now formally informed centre forward Jude Sumsut-Bell that he can leave the club on a permanent basis this summer. The striker has received. Sumsut-Bell has been told that he can now leave.
That whole transfer was a moneymaker. That was all that ever was. That was get a player in, give him a few games, sell him on, make some money, and that's what we've done. That was all that ever was.
The striker has received interest from the UK and foreign side. So
where did you get that from? I haven't seen that one.
It's on Twitter. I'm looking at it at the moment. It's on Last Word on Spurs. Tweeted it about 5 hours ago. It's come from Mirror Football.
Yeah, it was actually Jose. It was actually broken on Friday. Lily White Rose had it and broke it out on Friday. So this is just probably a development.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is, but yeah, it's pathetic.
So yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, we know there are some players that still got to leave, and whether they go or not, I don't care. But I'm not seeing, I'm not hearing because I'm not close to the club, but I'm not seeing plenty of suitors coming in for the free players. So your Region, Lo Celso, and that. I'm not seeing all these suitors coming in for him. There's talk that there was, in the past for Lo Celso. Region, Barcelona looking at Region. Really? Is that the best that people can come up with?
And Galatasaray.
I'm just
and Galatasaray.
I looked at. Sorry, Adrian. Just one thing. I've just put Twitter on or X based on what Jose was saying, and it's just flashed up from Spurs Express that Emerson Royal has arrived in Italy ahead of his medical and signing tomorrow. So that looks here we go sometime tomorrow afternoon, I imagine.
I think at the end of the day, you can loan. You can do 8 foreign loans. I think is what you can do. We're nowhere near that at the moment. So for the kids that we're not going to keep, that we're going to give a loan, then so be it. The other players that we can't move on, if you can't move them on, just don't put them in your squad and just get some players in that can make your squad up, is what I'd say. So just bring players in that we need. Forget about the players that are going out. If they don't go out, they didn't. Just don't put them in the squad. I mean, at the end of the day, worst case scenario, you can sell them for dirt cheap to a Turkish club after the window closes here in England.
Yeah,
but just get players in.
There was a comment there. Let's get to the dry roasted peanut. Let's get to the ins. We will. I promise you, we will. I promise you, we will. Let's take Adrian first. Adrian.
Okay, my take on this is a little bit of a take, right? We've still got Regulon and Lo Celso to go. They'll go. Regulon will go because left-footed players are always are always needed out there. There's always a shortage. Lo Celso should go. He had interest from real bettors before, and obviously his buddies managing Aston Villa now in our memory. Lo Celso's going to go. Brian's right. They'll go. Right, this is my take on the transfer window and why we should still be going in there big, right? And there's no excuses for the club not to do this, right? We got rid of Emerson. We know he's going for 15 mil, right? That's with the add-ons. Højbjerg's going for a similar amount. That's 30 mil. Parrott's gone for 8 mil. We know that's 38 mil. Rodon's gone to Leeds. He would have gone for about 12, right? That's 50 mil. Now, we might have got a token fee for Niall John to the second division Portuguese or Spanish club or Santiago, and we know Gil's gone off to Spain, right? And it's not just the 50 odd million, guys. It's the fact that we've taken them all off the wage bill, so you can add that. So what if we actually spent? Well, we got Graham for 40 mil and Yang-min-hyuk for 44 mil off the 5th mil. We made a profit before we even went in for Solanke at 65. Solanke's not an overwhelming or an underwhelming signing. He's not a £65 million signing in my mind. He's more 45. But that's neither here nor there. We've got him. We needed a striker. There's a shortage of good strikers out there. We went and got him. But as we've only put 30 mil down on him and we still had 6 mil profit, we spent about 25 mil of what should be about 120 million transfer fund. I want Eze and I want a left back.
Hang on, you're far too far ahead.
Final stop there. Move back to you.
Yeah, you're way too far. I want to come on. I'm going to come on to I want to know who's going out and the loans. I'm going to come on to the loans. Then we're going to have a good chat about the incomings that we need and we think we can afford between now and I won't run. I'll try not to run over 2 hours.
Well, there's only Regulon and Lo Celso to go now.
Is there anyone else, Ellie?
Regulon, Lo Celso. We've got rid of Hill. We've got rid of everybody apart. I think that's the only 2 that's left, if I recall. Do you know what though? I would love to keep Lo Celso because even though he hasn't shown a lot as a Spurs player, he's very good at possession and he's very good at moving the ball quickly. He is an Ange style player. He just has to get his mind right and his mindset to play for Spurs because it always seems like he doesn't really care whether he plays or not. That's the problem with him. But he's got the skill, right? And just feel sorry that he's going to leave. But in a way, I can understand why fans want him out, because he's never applied himself fully, apart from that purple patch he had with Poch. I think he played 20 clear games, 20 plus games where he was cooking, and you saw the player he could be. And we've always seen the player that he could be for Spurs when he's played for other clubs. That's the problem. But I just want him to do that for Spurs. And if he can, if Ange can get it out of him, because I think Ange does like him, he just doesn't trust him.
Trust him, yeah.
That's the trust issue, to put in the effort to make yourself put on that Spurs shirt and be proud like he does when he's putting on an Argentinian shirt. Because I've heard that many a time said about him when he goes and plays for Argentina. And obviously Messi likes him as well, because he's bigged him up and said that he's a great lad, and he's, we missed him in the World Cup. But I think he's got something, the boy. Right, but it's just getting it out of him, and it's a shame that all the coaches that we had, only Poch really got it out of him in that purple patch.
Fellow Argentine.
Maybe it is time for him to be moved on, because I don't think Postecoglou, I don't think he fancies him 100%, because you saw it last season where he's just giving him bit parts, and sometimes it can do a player in when you're only giving him 5 minutes. It's like he's quite, what I've seen about him around the club, he's quite a confident lad. I don't think he's arrogant like people say he is, because I've got inside people that know him, right, and they talk about him quite highly, what a nice guy he is. So he does get a bad press with the fans in general, right? Because he, like I said, he doesn't quite do it for us, and I'm feeling why ain't you doing it for us, Celso? Because everywhere else we've gone, he's even won a Europa Cup medal, hasn't he? A little sod for another cup.
Let's talk about who might get loaned out. There's sort of 60 odd of you in the chat, so again, please like, subscribe, and share. Helps the channel grow. I've put some names down there. Let's pick up with you, Jose, first of all. You haven't come in first at all. There's some names of players that have been linked with leaving on loan. Might be others.
I would say if we don't bring another striker in, right, and Richarlison doesn't go, I think Lancashire and Scarlett will both go out on loan. I don't think we're going to keep any of them, to be honest. And I think Divine will possibly go out on loan. I'm not sure about Donnelly. I'm not sure whether Donnelly goes out or whether Donnelly wants the one that stays. Gray, Bergvall, and Mikey Moore are definitely staying. But it's whether you're going to keep another one as well. So if out of them ones, I would have thought that if we're going to keep any of them, it might be Donnelly. And I'll only keep Lancashire if we get rid of, if Richarlison was to go, I think Lancashire would stay, but we'll probably bring in another forward as well. But I think out of all the youngsters, I think, to be honest, the youngsters have outgrown, apart from Bergvall and Gray, obviously, because we bought them in. But all the other youngsters, they've outgrown the academy. They need loans. They need first team football. They are too good for the 18s and the 21s in the leagues that they were playing in. And they do need the loans. And it's just about picking the right pathway for each player. And that's what I'm hoping that Tottenham have done, that they'll look after the boys and they'll pick the right path from whether it be League 2, League 1, Championship, Premier or Europe, wherever they see the best fit. But just look after them and make sure that they choose the right pathway for them. Because at the end of the day, these are the people that if they go and have a really good season, in the long run, could save us money. Could save us money where we could then prioritise other positions coming forward in the future.
There's a username that goes along with this benign Berliner, I think, isn't there?
Can I just say a quick hello to Niall Kane, because he's just texted me, just to let him. Niall Kane, the man from Montrose, he was in our chat. He's a band from Scotland. He's a lovely lad. He's just texted me, just letting you know. he loves our show as well, which is great.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. Brian, let's bring you in. I know you've got some pretty strong views on Mr. Divine.
Exceedingly. Listen, when it comes, people know I am probably Alfie's, or actually not probably, I am Alfie Divine's biggest fan. I'll die on that hill, and I'm proud to die on that hill. I have been, when he was at Wigan, my parents' very close friend, their son was on the medical team at Wigan, so I used to touch base with him about Wigan about Alfie when he joined. I've been speaking about him since he signed for the football club, and every time he's been with a age group at Tottenham, within 6 months they've had to move him up because he's the best player in the team. He's the best player in the league, and obviously he got his move to Port Vale last year, which I was delighted with. The very first thing I did was on my football app, I started following Port Vale as my second team, so I got notifications if he started, if he was on the bench. He thrived, and I mean he thrived at Port Vale. And it was going to be a season-long loan, but the opportunity to fast-track his progress to Plymouth came up, and it was under a Plymouth manager that he'd worked with at England. So Spurs cut it short, sent him to Plymouth, and he started okay, and then all of a sudden Plymouth decided to sack the manager that brought him in.
Yeah.
He hardly got game time. Plymouth fans actually think that Ashley Phillips had a much better loan deal, which he did. I was saying that Alfie Divine is absolutely crap and won't get it. I was like, okay, yeah, you stick to that. I know what I know. Obviously, he had the pre-season that we're all talking about, but what I do know, and I know this very, very reliably, when he came back from Plymouth, Tottenham Hotspur were both annoyed that Alfie didn't do enough to impress Plymouth, but they also took into consideration that he went to Plymouth to work under a manager and they didn't get the manager. They know how good he is, and the idea was to send him out on loan again this season. Obviously, he's had a very, very good pre-season, but he will be going out on loan again. So Alfie will go out on a season-long loan. I'm hoping and praying, and I've even said to the team that I think he'll be brilliant out. I hope he goes to Luton. They've lost Ross Barkley. They play great football under a young manager. I would love nothing more than Alfie Divine to go to a Luton. I would say go to a Watford, but they changed 85 managers a season, so I don't know if he'll get all the game time. Leeds, he'd do very well like we did with Joe Rodham. He needs to go, and we need to get assurances like we did with Sessegnon when he went to Germany that he's going to play in the position that Spurs want him to, and he's going to get regular game time. So as much as I want Alfie to stay, I'm kind of, Ian, it's been with me kind of head over heart. My heart wants him to stay and fight in the Europa League and the cup competitions. But that's just me being very, very... But I think the best thing for his development is go out and get a season-long loan in the Championship, shine in the Championship, and then come back to Spurs. So I think that's what's going to happen. And I've got all my fingers crossed and toes that he goes to Luton.
I'm a little bit surprised you haven't said under no circumstances should he be loaned out, because there's going to be game time in League Cup and Europa League and stuff like that for him.
I would have said that, but you know what? The way I'm looking at it as well, I'm one of the guys that say, and I went absolutely nuts that he experimented against Fulham, and I was unfortunately at that game when we went out of the Carabao Cup, and I was fuming that we didn't take the cup seriously. Now, if Alfie Divine played in it, I wouldn't necessarily say he's not taking it. It depends who he's playing around. Like I said, I think he's already better than Ollie Skip ever will be.
I need to stop you, Brian. I need to stop you.
Yeah.
And the reason is my phone has just flashed up with a son, Spurs player, filmed star on hippie crack, Tottenham Hotspur, Spurs ace Yves Bissouma.
Don't get me started on this, man. After what I've been hearing, yeah, go on, sorry, Ian.
Do you know about this? Yves Bissouma filmed himself inhaling deadly hippie crack just days before the new season kicks off. Possession of laughing gas with intent to get high was made illegal last year. And then the body Spurs ace Yves Bissouma filmed himself inhaling deadly laughing gas just days, da-da-da. I mean, honestly. I mean,
I just want to add to Brian. I'm a big fan of Divine as well. And those of you that didn't see him, well, you'll remember the goal he scored as a 15-year-old against Marine away in the FA Cup. Right?
Yeah.
And those that didn't see the goal, I mean, he scored a worldie at Port Vale, the one they showed. And like they were struggling down the bottom half. And then there was another game. And out of all their experienced pros, Port Vale get a penalty in extra time. And who steps up coolly and just slots it away when seasoned pros at their club didn't? Alfie Divine. He's going to be like, he's one I've had my eye on. I am a big fan. I expect him to have a good career, but like all these players, we wait and see. The only thing I'd say is that whereas Gray has earned his spurs sort of in the Championship before he can take the step up, and whereas young players in Europe like Bergvall, they get pushed into their first teams earlier because their clubs haven't got the money to go out and buy replacements or players that they need. So Divine's about a year behind them in his development, I think. So he needs to go out on loan. He does need to go out on loan. That's all I'll say on
it. Tom, I haven't heard from you on this, have I?
No, yeah, again, I just echo what everyone says. Divine, yeah, a loan is important, but the most important thing is it goes to a team where he's going to get the minutes. And I mean, loans are a funny one because you want them to have good loans, but I don't. Harry Kane, probably our best ever player, he never had a good loan. Like most of the teams that he had a loan at, they all hate him because of how bad he was for them, and then he turned out great for us. So I think just Alfie Divine, he needs that men's football, Championship. He can pretty easily he'll smash it at that level if he gets the game time, and that's the most important thing. So I think with any loan, it's just ensuring that the players are going to get the game time. Like, I mean, Veliz going to Espanyol just seems like the most stupid loan ever. Like, that's just ridiculous. Another one that we haven't mentioned is Ash Phillips. Apparently, he's been linked with Celtic today on loan. So
make an
he's
awful
going
lot
around
of sense.
Celtic forums apparently, but yeah, I was surprised he didn't play. I'm surprised we played Ben Davis over him in the friendly yesterday. It seems a bit bizarre. But yeah, allegedly, on the Celtic forums, he's been linked with them, which could be.
I think he'd do very well. And I mean, it's interesting because Carter Vickers was never ever good enough for Tottenham, but he's been certainly 2 seasons ago. He was the Player of the Year in Scotland, and he was absolutely exceptional. The number of goals and the solidity he had, the number of goals that he stopped Celtic conceding. And Ash Phillips alongside him, that would make an awful lot of sense, I think, knowing obviously football up here.
Yeah.
Brilliant signing for Celtic. It seems to me that Ange doesn't fancy him though.
Yeah, I wonder. He's a big lump in here, and I wonder if he's maybe not quite mobile enough for Ange at the moment. He seems pretty fast as well, but maybe just I don't know. There's just something not there, is there? But yeah, good loan, and hopefully he can.
Sorry, I've come in there. Phil's comment about I think Divine is going to get a permanent move. I have to say I'd be surprised and I'd be disappointed.
No
I think
way.
He's got far too much to offer to let talent like that just go out the door.
Sorry, here, can I just comment on that? He's right. From what I've been told and what I know, Alfie Divine is very unhappy that he's not unhappy. I don't want that he's not getting first team football. That doesn't mean at Tottenham. He went to loan on Port Vale, where he's playing regularly. Went to Plymouth. Then that changed with the manager. He's got to the age now where he wants first team minutes. We don't want to let him go. He is wanting to go out on loan and get regular first team minutes. It's not if a player of his standard and his caliber and coming through isn't wanting first team football, that's when you start worrying.
That's a worry.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah, good point, Ellie.
Yeah, what about Divine?
I mean,
in general.
I mean, no one's actually picked up on the attackers. Other, I think Jose said that if we sign another forward, a proper forward, a real first team player alongside and with Solanke and Richarlison, then Lancashire would go on loan and maybe Scarlett would go permanently. I mean, that's. But talk about any of the young players. I've just put those up as a guide, I think.
You know what? I think all those youngsters are better than what we've got, honestly, because they can hold the ball. They're daring. They take risks. they've got the skill sets better than our current wingers or midfielders. They're just as good. Maybe they need the game time elsewhere, maybe, but I would keep Divine at Spurs and give him his opportunities, because the lad's got it. And I saw him on the bench, right? They flashed on his face when Kulusevski scored that second goal. He it was like a hard-hearted clap. But it wasn't because he was being disloyal. It's because he probably feels very frustrated that he's not getting the opportunities when he sees the other players, like Basuma, for example, lounging about. And you made a comment about what he's doing off the pitch, right? And he's probably thinking, why aren't I getting my opportunity when I'm better than these players at this stage of his career? Even if he hasn't been developed as a first-team player, I can see that he can offer so much more than a lot of the other players are offering. All right, so I feel for him, because he's a lovely lad in general. Because I've met him a couple of times, and I think he's ace, and he speaks a lot of sense. And I just think he's probably very frustrated, like the other players, like Donnelly, for example. That boy's got skill. He's like a skill in abundance, and he's got vision, right? And we're lacking that in the first team. So you saw it in pre-season. All the youngsters stepped up, including Mikey Moore. Dane Scarlett was a bit on the fringe, but he wasn't given many minutes. So he's probably one that we should put on loan, because I think he does need a bit more development, but not because he's not as good, right? Because I think he needs a little bit more game time, because the boy has got it well. So I disagree with who said that he's not good enough. I just disagree, because I think he's built up. He's made himself physically strong as well. He's worked on that part of his game. Because in the Premiership, you can be found wanting, as we've seen, where you haven't got the physicality. Even the first teamers, I'll change the subject a little bit, and I'll move to Brennan Johnson. Yes, he's got skill. Yes, he's daring, but he hasn't got the physicality, the boy. Right, so I think he needs to work on it as well. Right, so there's a lot of players. Lancashire as well. What a fantastic finisher. And what great goal he's got in front of goal. What other player have we got up front apart from Sonny, who's scoring? Right, we brought Solanke. Wait and see with him. Yeah, we're not quite sure if he's the right one. If everybody put their hat on Solanke, I don't think there's many of our Spurs faithful in our community that are really, really, really happy with what we've signed in Solanke. But we have to go with him, and I'll support him, right? And I want him to be a success. But we've got youngsters who can do it as well. And I just feel it's a shame that they are not being given the chance, right? Because, like I said, they are just as good, if not better, than what we've got at this stage of their development.
I mean, I'm going to assume that we got wise to it, because I can't remember where it was in Spain that Valith went, but he didn't get any game time at all. And it's like, I think another one, a new manager. Where did he go?
Seville.
Sevilla. But there was a problem though, Ian. There was a problem though. It was a bit like, the problem was the manager and the board, they had a disagreement, and the manager was on his way out, and they weren't going to change the manager till the end of the season. So he dug his heels in and wouldn't play Veliz because it was a protest against the board. So at the end of the day, if he had stayed and there was no interactions between the manager and the board, Veliz would have got game time.
Yeah, I think what I was going to say though is I think we're getting wise to it. And I would imagine that there are penalty clauses, such as if you don't play him, you have to pay his wages. Because I imagine most loans go that we pay the wages to develop the players. There was a question from Nita: why do players go on loan? Well, they go on loan, Nita, to for their football development. First of all, to be playing playing minutes in a higher competitive league than they would be if they were milling around the training ground or playing under 21 football, and of course in front of a crowd, because even if they're playing in League One, they might be playing in front of 8,000-10,000 people, which is a different experience. So that's why you're always going to send players out on loan. But I think we've done badly out of loans, haven't we? Because we haven't got players that have then gone and got into first teams. And there was a point at Plymouth when the manager went that Devine and Phillips just weren't getting game time. So anyway, let's start because I know people in the chat are interested in Solanke. Who else? Ange says there's activity coming. It's all taken too long. It's typical Tottenham. But you started to allude to it, Adrian. There's no law that says the guests have to go first rather than the channel hosts. So why don't you give us a take on where you think we need to be going?
Well, I mean, I think as Ange came out and said in a recent press conference that he sees Decky playing on the right, whether he's bluffing or I don't know, rather than as a future number 10, because he was directly asked the question. I think that might mean that, okay, we aren't going to look for a right winger now. If that's the case, then I think at wing urgent position, we definitely need a left back. And I would like Eze and a left back. Again, the chances of left backs, I mean, there's a couple of young kids we did look at was Bradley Locco and Dorgu in France. Jose's seen them play, I think, in the French competitions, and but we definitely need to bring a left back in. I haven't got many ideas of who, and I want Eze, and I think the money's there, and I think we should go and get him. And Lange did talk. The thing that was when I was reading between the lines months ago was when he said Johan Lange has talked to Crystal Palace about Eze, right? Now that's a good sign to me, because that means no point talking to Crystal Palace about Eze if you haven't already spoken to the player, or through intermediaries now, rather than get done a tapping up. We know he's visited the ground. We know his family and friends have stayed in the box. We know the players were chatting to him after we played the game and all that. So I think if we cough up the money, we get him. But it's coughing up the money. And every Spurs fan wants him. We all want him. Other than that, we having said, I mean, I'd want three in. Like, I'd want eight. I know it's Krause in midfield, but I wouldn't mind another midfielder. But if we've got 7 already without Decky moving into midfield to make 8, Eze and a left back for me, please.
Ellie?
Yeah, I'd like to get Eze because I watched him because my husband supports QPR, as everybody knows, and I love him. I think he's a fantastic footballer. He holds the ball very well. He drives forward. He's more tenacious than Basuma. He'll give you more. He's just an all-round brilliant footballer, and he can score goals as well, which we need. If we're going to challenge, we need midfielders to chip in with at least 10, 15 goals each to get us up those scoring leagues so that we can actually challenge properly. Because we've always been there or thereabouts, even under Poch, right? We were there or thereabouts, weren't we? Second and third. Like, we finished third against Leicester. We were fantastic. And we should have won the league that season. But I think there's certain players that can take us to that next level in regards to their scoring, as well as what skill sets they can bring to our team. You know, and keeping the ball is very important. Like Man City, they're the creme de la creme, aren't they, at keeping the ball? Their stats prove it year on, year out. And who's winning the trophies? Man City. So we've got to get up there, try and win something at least, and challenge. Like Spurs, we've fallen behind, haven't we, in the 24 years that we've had under the leadership. And I won't go there because I know you don't want to take it that direction. But there is a point that you've got to get the players that can take you to that next level, right? And we're always the nearly men, aren't we? We nearly did it. We nearly done that. We nearly done this. Got to 6 finals, only won 1. Well, at least we got to the 6 finals. That's one good thing. But I want to see progression. And these sort of players like Eze, and I saw Neto being displayed for Chelsea, and I was thinking, there's another one we could have got. Yes, he's injury prone, but he gets the fans off his seats, and he can score goals. Maybe not as many for Wolves because he's playing a lesser team, but we bring him on and nurture him and show him the Spurs way. We can make a player. There's lots of players who have not been so good at our club, and then they've gone to a better club and they've shown their true colours, right? Because they're playing with better footballers all round. So yeah, I would have loved to have got Dusan Vlahovic as well, Dusan Vlahovic, or that I can't pronounce his name, Gyökeres.
Gyökeres.
I like his movement.
Yeah.
I think he would have added something to our attack, even if he didn't get a first team spot over Solanke. It's someone to bring on who can score goals for fun, right? And then Mikey Moore needs to get his chance as well. I don't think he's going anywhere because obviously he's too young to loan out anyway. But there's so many things that we can do better at Spurs that we've been failing at. We've got to get our act together, Ian. We really do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think as someone who's, one of the reasons Brian and I get on so well is we can both put a different perspective on the Levy ownership. And this isn't a show that, Ellie, that I like to get into the ownership.
Yeah, we're not going to go there.
No, we won't go there. But there is no doubt that, whatever you think, we do get the frustration, real frustration. That there's players, there are deals to be done, and the Solanke thing apparently was on the go for quite a while, and it's just we ended up paying the release clause and what have you. You just say, why does it take so long to do a deal? But anyway, let's move along. Tom, haven't heard from you for a little while, so what are you hoping Santa brings you for Christmas?
I'm hoping they come before Christmas, first of all. But I think the most important thing that we need to start doing now is buying players that improve the first 11. Right? You've seen people obviously saying, Carl Walker-Peters and blah, blah, like stuff like that, and more because they're the sort of signings that we're used to us probably going and getting, and homegrown issues, blah, all things along the lines of that. But we have to now start buying first 11 players that are going to take us to that next level and push those players that are playing there now onto the bench. Like, that's the only way we're going to improve, rather than buying these I think he makes the first 11 kind of players. I think we desperately need a one-on-one specialist winger. I've seen a lot of people talking about Bakayoko from PSV. He's a dribbly winger that can go inside, outside, taking his man, can score a goal, make plenty of assists. But obviously, Dutch league is always a little bit funny when it comes to buying from there. And another name that's been seeing for like a right wing position that lots of people have been talking about is Mbeumo from Brentford. I think that would be a very, very, very smart signing.
Sorry, which one did you say?
Mbeumo from Brentford.
Okay,
Yes.
is the one name. I just something came up on my phone about
so many times.
Emerson.
He's a player.
He's only 24 as well.
Yeah, he's young, and he reminds me of like a Riyad Mahrez. Like he's got that ability to not only cut inside and find the goal from cutting in on his left, and he can actually do it. Even though he's one of those players that you probably know he's going to cut in on his left foot, but there's not a lot you can do about it if he goes to do it. Unlike a Kulusevski, who is very predictable and also very slow, so can be caught. But he does also go around the outside and stuff as well. Irrespective of Basuma's antics off the pitch and stuff, I would 100% be looking for a number 6 midfield destroyer. I know we've got lots of midfielders at the moment, but we don't have that world-class number 6. And in this possession-based football that we're trying to play, if you look at your Man Cities, your Scum down the road, And even Aston Villa last year with Douglas Luiz, they all have this number 6 that's not only good at winning the ball back, but also getting the ball moving forward quickly as well. Who that player is, I don't know. I don't have the scouting network data that obviously Tottenham are working with at the moment, but I would 100% be looking for that player.
And therein lies the problem. I mean, you think Bissouma might be might be able to be good enough to play that role. I think he could be in. I mean, it's too early to speculate, I guess, but I think he could be in for a very long suspension if he's been doing laughing gas. I mean, filmed himself is not, Mwelo, because that name's come about as well. I mentioned Johnny Hame earlier. I think he mentioned Mwelo rather than Tony. And of course, Mwelo really stepped up when Tony was suspended. If you were picking the team, Tom, where would you play Mwelo?
It would be your right winger. 100%.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, at this present moment in time, if we were to sign him, then you'd be Son left wing, Solanke up front, and Mbeumo on the right. Midfield. This is my problem. When we're trying to pick our midfield, you could pick 4 or 5 different options, and not because they're all that good that you could pick 4 or 5 different options, but because actually none of them jump out at you and go, he should be our starting midfielder. Like you could say Maddison, but you go, okay, actually Bergval's been playing quite well. Could he take his spot? You say Bissouma, and then you go, well, actually maybe no. I'm again not a massive fan of Skip, but you could think of Skip. You could think. To be honest, I'd like to see Pat Macassar play that number 6 as a guy who's got legs, he can run around. I don't think he's maybe defensively like good at holding his position, but I think he could play that. And I think that's our big problem. We've got a lot of midfielders, but none of them scream has to be starting every single week. You might get with an Eze, but at the moment, I think there's other positions we should probably be looking at before an Eze. And my worry is that the Solanke deal was allegedly in talks for ages, and I feel like the reason why we never got it done is because we were trying to split the Solanke money along with the Eze money, and we've been told by Palace that you need to dump 60 million up front, and we've eventually gone, well, okay, we can't do that. Let's put the money into getting Solanke.
It's going to be a problem. I mean, I must tell you, people because I've done this show, I'm a huge Eze fan. I think he's exactly what we need in midfield. Someone who doesn't give the ball away. Great assist record, great scoring record and I'd be playing him as the left-sided number 8.
Yeah, and the thing is, Ian, as well, is it's not just a case of not giving the ball away, but also not giving the ball away, but making something happen. Like, you could argue, I mean, Kulusevski obviously gave the ball away quite a lot, but when he's played centrally, he's looked a bit better at not giving the ball away. But is he creating things? Not really. And that's kind of the biggest problem. Not only do you want to not give possession away, but you also want, when you keep the possession, for it to mean something. And like, we were saying those stats of keeping possession earlier. I bet Harry Winks would be nowhere near on top of that, but no one's screaming for Harry Winks to be in the team because missed sideways. But
that's my point. Eze, if you look at his stats, for goal scoring and goal assists are really impressive.
100%. And I would 100%, like, people going, oh, but what does that mean for Maddison? Well, that means that Maddison sits on the bench. Like, you need to stop being so precious about, the only way you improve is you constantly get better players. Grealish was a mainstay in Man City's team. They went and bought Doku, and now Grealish is sitting on the bench. I mean, Grealish is possibly a player that, if you can't get an Eze, do you get a Grealish?
Wages, don't know. They probably want 70, 80 million back for him. But anyway, that's. But I like Mbeumo. I must tell you, I really like him as well. Brian, let's bring you in.
Yep. What would you like me to talk about? Our lack of transfers.
Well, yeah, I want you to talk about who you want.
Quality. Okay, I'm going to try and stay away from. I'm going to try and stand away from talking about a certain man, but he may be brought up, but only to. If we don't go and buy a winger, the whole point of signing Solanke is the biggest mistake. I am fully on board Dominic Solanke. I think for what we need and where he plays and the attributes he has, he is absolutely perfect for Ange Postecoglou and the way he wants to play. But this guy has the #1 headed goals in the Premier League last year. When you say one season, one day, whatever, we haven't got a single player apart from Pedro Porro that I trust to put a ball in the air. Not a single one of them. So you bought a guy that thrives on service, and like David Clark said as well, because I've been spoken to this about you, Ian. When we bought Soldado, and I'm so happy David mentioned this, we bought that guy because he scored 20-plus goals 5 years in a row in La Liga, played as a 2 in a 4-4-2 in Valencia, sorry. No, it was Valencia. Yeah, it was Valencia. So he comes in from Valencia.
It was Valencia, yeah.
He comes in from Valencia. We sign him and go, do you know what? You've done really well as a 2. But what we're going to do now is you're going to play as a 1, and Andros Townsend and Aaron Lennon are going to run in behind you. And we buy a player, not scouting for what Tottenham need, but who we think we can change him into. Now, if you're going to buy a Dominic Solanke, forget the price, forget his name, it's not the glitz and the glamour. He is your #1 striker. Well, you bought him to score goals. Then you need to give him the supply line. A right winger, a left winger, I mean, Thun can do the job. Werner, I do not understand at all for re-signing him. A right winger is desperate. Absolute, like the #1. Eze, I wanted instead of Maddison last year. And I wish we had gone down that route. We definitely need competition for destiny. We need a strong, hard midfielder that's got some kind of defensive capabilities. But the right winger for me is an absolute must. But here we are again, 1 week before the season starts, still stuttering around, haven't got a clue what we're doing. We got 1 week till this starts, 3 weeks till the window ends, about 4 or 5 positions to fill. We won't fill all of them. This window that was going to be different because of the FFP and PSR, and this is what we've been waiting for. Hasn't happened again. Shaved the wage bill and done very, very well. The club have done very, very well, and I include Levy in that, getting those players out and saving over £1 million on the wage bill. And then we get told he wants to bring it down further. Good, that's good. We have the resources, we have the wages, we have the income, we have the manager, and now it's time to start doing things. But I have been very, very calm this summer and refuse to go mad and buy all the bullshit ITK say. But I am getting more and more concerned right now. I don't think we get anyone in before Leicester either. So we basically go into that season probably, as much as I would like Graham Bergvall to start in midfield, they probably won't. We could go into the game against Leicester with the only change being Dominic Solanke.
I wouldn't be surprised by him going into that game and Solanke's on the bench, to be honest.
Even that. So you look at that, and this is the window where trust the process and all the bullshit that I hear. It's different this time. Nothing's different. Nothing is different. But Solanke, like I said, Solanke, I'm fully on board. In fact, I think if we give him the service, he's going to be an absolute success. And I stand by that. But we go into this window and we could go into this game. Has anything changed?
No.
Richarlison could still be injured. We'll see where we are, but I've got a really bad feeling how this window ends. A really bad feeling.
Yeah. I mean, just picking up, because I think Colin's got this.
No, they don't. And if they do, they hit the first man, Colin.
One of the things that got me, if you looked at the goals, when I was watching Soldado on the, was it YouTube or whatever it was in those days, most of his goals seemed to come from quite long crosses from the inside left, inside right channels. They weren't even from the wings; they were just from the channels. And he was running between the centre halves and heading it. And under Martin Jol, we were playing, little nippy little passes around the penalty area. It was completely the wrong game for Soldado. I couldn't work out why on earth we signed a player when the style that we played was so completely different to what he was used to. I just never got that.
Well, you look at it, like you said, you look at it, even if Colin wants to say we cross them more, go and look how many crossing goals we scored. Richarlison was out of position or injured. Son was out wide. Werner was lucky he'd have 6 or 7 that hit the first man or went off for a goal kick before it got to someone. Brennan Johnson, if you put it aerially, it goes into the other stand. On the floor, he's better. Kulusevski can't cross to save his life. He cuts in, as do the others. We need to... And I'll ask you, if we're playing Leicester right now, it's 0-0. No new incomings now. And a ball has to get crossed in the 90th minute, and it has to hit Dom Solanke square on the head. So it has to be an absolute pinpoint pass. Who is the player that you trust to get that ball in that starting 11?
Porro.
Yeah, I'd go with Porro.
And that's your right back.
Yeah,
Even Scar's got a good cross on him. That cross to Maddison at Waite of Villa when he put the ball in next. Scar can cross a ball.
And the thing is, he doesn't get in that position enough because he's more central, so he doesn't really go to the wing a lot, does he?
Box, Ellie, so he should.
Yeah, he can do it, but it's what I'm saying. He doesn't go there enough. We need an out-and-out right winger that Brian's saying, because we have a weakness on that side, and we also need someone who's just as good as Sonny to give Sonny a bit of something to think about on the left, because like we've got Werner and Solomon who've not exactly lit White Hart Lane up, have they? So I just feel that we need better if we're going to compete.
I know what we want, but I think that we may go for the right winger and the Eze in the midfield rather than the left back and the right back, because we know that Spence isn't going anywhere in this window. Maybe January if he doesn't hit it, right? And you've got Gray, who's played 30 times for Leeds at right back, and you have got Davies in his last season for left back, and VDV can play there as an emergency. It all depends what Ange wants to fill. I mean, as you say, right winger and Eze, yes, please. Or Eze and left back, yes, please, for me. I think we'll get 2 more in. I'm hopeful. I think we will get 2 more in. But we'll get both done before the season starts, because we still have 2 weeks in the window to go. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing, you know.
He won't stop inverting the fullbacks, that's for sure. Right. Tom, I'm going to come back on something Brian said. I'll bring you in because I haven't heard from Jose yet either. But Brian, you talk about Solanke and the ball in the air. He scores goals from the air, but that's actually not his strength. Most of his goals are scored with his feet. And he get the point about bringing Solanke in is, if you look at his heat map, is where he gets his goals is in and around the 6-yard box, and usually from low crosses put in low. They're the ones we're missing. He can score goals with his head, and he's decent in the air, but he's not particularly brilliant in the air. What he is good at is poaching those goals in and around the 6-yard box, and that's why he's been brought in, and that's why they say the fit's so good. And I tell you, there's a lot of people in the chat. There's over 70 of you now. If you go on, I can't put a link up, on 442, there was an analysis of Dominic Solanke. I can't remember, was it Creary, the guy's name? 442. If you've got a pen and paper, write it down, 442, the analysis of Dom Solanke. It is absolutely superb, well worth a watch. And in particular, I love the comparison with Kyogo. Very different types of player, but if you look at the heat maps of the 2 players and how they score their goals, they're almost identical. So I mean, the more I realise about Solanke's strengths and the way Ange plays, the more I think, he's absolutely the right fit. Yeah, we've overpaid. There's no way he's a £65 million player. If he was going from Sevilla to Real Madrid, it wouldn't be £65,000 or €80,000 or anything near it. But Jose, sorry, we haven't heard from you for a while on this. So and we're at 1:59, so I'm probably going to wrap up fairly soon.
What, you want me to know who we're going to go for?
Well, what would you do? You know, I've given you the blank checkbook.
Well, I don't know about a blank checkbook because I don't operate like that. But I've got a fit. Well, I'll tell you what. This homegrown academy trained malarkey won't go away. It keeps getting talked about. However, rather than the person that's in the frame at the moment, I'm thinking to myself, because obviously the people have changed at this other club now, but Noni Madueke. They've just bought Pedro Neto. Pedro Neto for 53 million is going to be their starting player. Cole Palmer has played out on the right-hand side as well for Chelsea. Although I've got a feeling that Cole Palmer may be brought into the middle as a 10, and they'll play with Neto out right wing. That leaves Madueke with nowhere to go and less first-team opportunities. We keep talking about we need someone who's academy trained, and I'm just thinking to myself, we're talking wingers. Could there be a bid going back in for Madueke? I mean, I don't know, because obviously Marina Gaddis Varaya, whatever her name was, that was there under that Russian oligarch that was there before, she didn't want to deal with Tottenham at all. But now Todd Bowley's there, they deal with absolutely everyone and they spend everything in the world. And I'm just thinking to myself, there could be a cheeky bid for him. I don't know. He's a winger, plays out on the right-hand side, left-footed. I would, the dream signing for me was to bring someone like Eze in. But do you know what? I've resigned to the fact now, right, that I just get it done, whether it's before Leicester or before the end of the transfer window. Just give me 2 or 3 more players if you can. Just get 2 or 3 more players that affect the first team. As long as they affect the first team, just get them in. They don't have to be sexy Johnny Kickabolio or anything like that. Just get us players in that are gonna affect the first team, and we go from there. On our wish this year we need a right winger. We probably need a left winger because people ain't saying much, but Werner's not the solution. Solomon's not the solution. But I'll tell you what, Sonny's definitely not the solution either, because Sonny for me has waned for the last 2 years, and he ain't the solution either. If you're going to bring a winger, we probably need a right winger. We probably need a left winger. People are talking about bringing a defensive midfielder like a 6 in. People are talking about bringing cover in for a doggy. We're a few players light, but it was never going to be done in two summer transfer windows. You're not gonna get all your wishes into 2 summer transfer windows. But I would just like to see 2 to 3 more players come in, whether it be before Leicester or by the end of the season, that affect the first team. And that's what I want to see. Who their names and stuff like that, I really don't care. As I said, for me, they just got to affect the first team.
I'm gonna go around again, but just another thing. Fabrizio's reporting breaking news. Désiré Doué, how's good my French? Désiré Doué has decided to join Paris Saint-Germain.
What a surprise!
100% focused on the Olympics. Hey,
what a surprise!
He's getting the wonga, isn't he? He's getting a good pay packet there.
So
you got young Leko in the Olympics. You got the left back. You get Leko, who played in the Olympics for France. He's a very, very good player. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing someone like him come in.
Bradley Locko, Leko.
Bradley Locko. He looked really good. So
I'll throw another name in. Do you know what? I've mentioned him before, but Johan Visser. I've just looked up his stats. He's a left winger. He scored 61 goals in 219 games.
Who's this, Ellie?
Johan Visser of Brentford. Brilliant player. I don't know.
Wingers, they've got Visser on one side and Boehmer on the other.
Yeah, brilliant. That'd be fantastic. Because
there's one thing there's not a shortage of, and that's wingers out there. I've always liked the look of Scott Olsen in Belgium, but that's just what I've liked the look of. Other people might not even know he is, but I like the look of that young player because he's a winger who knows how to score. And my biggest complaint is our front three need to find a way to score 85, 90 goals a season.
He scores more than Neto.
And we ain't getting them. We ain't getting that amount of goals. We ain't got the goal scorers. We just haven't got the goal scorers.
You think that Visser comes in 61 goals in 209. Brentford, 102 games, 26 goals, 117 games for Lorient, 35 goals. That's fantastic. For a winger, that's brilliant stats. And he's a brilliant technician as well. I watched him against Arsenal when he nipped in and scored that brilliant goal. He's got very good vision, the boy, and he works hard for the team. Yeah, so he reminds me a bit like Garth Brooks, but as a winger, not as a striker. I think he'll be an excellent acquisition.
Maybe on the list of the recruitment team, we're going to get someone in left field. And Eze!
Yes.
Tom, you look like you've been looking to come in.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you know, the player. I just don't think two or three players is enough. You know, we've got rid of a lot of players. I really think only 2 or 3 coming in is going to leave us really short. But I know I'm hopeful that a lot of the youngsters can step up and you know, share some of the load of the minutes and stuff. In terms of wingers, yeah, I agree. Like Sonny, his legs are going 100%. Brian was saying about, you know, crosses for Solanke, and as you were saying, Ian, you know, most of those were coming from his feet. And actually, I can't believe we're going to say this. Don't like Werner. Don't think he should be starting for us. But as a player coming on with 10 minutes to go, he does have that ability to beat a man on the outside and cut the ball back, which is probably perfect for Solanke. But he should not be our starter. One of the wingers I mentioned, Bakayoko, he can play right and left. I think that's probably what we're going to be looking for, is a dribbly one-on-one specialist that can do both wings. Eze would be perfect, because not only can he play on the wing, he can play in the midfield. It's difficult. I think we've left ourselves with a lot to do in not a lot of time left in the transfer window. I'm hoping that's because we're just getting all of our ducks lined up to shoot them off pretty quickly. And it's difficult with transfers, right? It's not just us buying a player. You need the club that's selling the player to be in a position to sell the player as well. And but that's not making excuses. We should have had Solanke should have been in the door weeks ago, like that 100%. And then you're not worrying about that for the last 2 weeks and stuff. But yeah, I think 3 minimum. But we definitely need more. And the problem with our wingers in our system, like Visser again, I think is a good winger, but he's a run in behind, cutting in from the wings, like Sonny kind of is, really, like laying on through balls. He's not a winger that's going to beat his man around the outside and cut back to a Solanke. So I think he's a good goal scoring winger, but he's probably not the type of winger that we really desperately need.
Lo Celso for Jacobs, quickly around the table. Brian?
Sorry, what was that you asked him?
Lo Celso for Jacobs, the Aston Villa lad.
Hell no.
Hell no. Tom?
He's not the midfielder. I think he's a good player. He's not the midfielder we need. He's another Sarr. We don't need that right now. He's a good player.
Jose?
It's not happening.
This is like America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent. It's a no from me. Adrian?
No, we need better. Lo Celso's got to go. I bigged him up when he first came to the club. I'd watched the player. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it'd be fantastic for us. I was wrong, right? But he's still a good player. He's never going to turn it around at Tottenham. Too late for do that. So he's got to go. And I don't want Ramsey, because he's another one who's not quite oven ready. We need to bring in Eze.
Jordan, if you're still in the chat, I think you are, because there's comments. I don't know if that's something you're just speculating on. If you've got a source for that, can you let us know while we're on? And yeah, there's still over 70 of you in the chat. We are pretty well coming to the end of the show. But do hit the like and subscribe button, please. It helps us enormously. Everybody's talking, and this is one for the chat as much as the panel. Everybody's talking about we need a 6, we need a 6, we need a 6. I think that number 6 will end up being Archie Gray, and I've seen a few negative comments about him in the chat as well. Dan has put a couple of things in and what have you. I think he's going to be a huge player for us. But if we need a top number 6 now, I keep saying the one I want to clone is. The one I clone would be Moussa Dembele. I think he would be so brilliant in that role for us if he was playing in the team. But let's assume I can't clone Moussa Dembele. Who are we going to sign that might be available as the number 6?
Edison from Atalanta, Fratesi from Juventus, Fofana, a French defensive midfield player. But I think we've got more chance of going homegrown if we bring in a midfield. I just think we'll go homegrown. We may go for Morgan Gibbs-White, but he's not that sort of player.
For who?
Playmaker.
I could see us, and he was linked earlier in the window, but the Stoke City player Wout Berger. I know that seems weird, a Stoke City player, but he is raved about, and that Stoke is way beneath his level. I could see that as a cheap option, just for get someone in and then help develop Archie Gray. I mean, if Archie Gray is going to be that six, I think he needs someone to learn from, and that person should not be Basuma. But yeah, I think I wouldn't be. I mean, people are mentioning it now. I wouldn't be surprised if for now Bentancur starts as that six.
Yeah. Okay. Jose, you got any names for the six? Anybody in Spain, for example?
Cool. There's a dearth of players that you could have from Spain, I tell you. But it's whether they want to come out of where they're at. The player that I really do like, and it's Fabian Ruiz, who's at PSG. I think he's a fantastic player. Vitinha was getting game time over him last season, and they've just bought in the Portuguese Neves. They've just bought the João Neves in, so I think that he's not going to get much game time. I think Luis Enrique fancies them two more than what he fancies Ruiz and Ugarte. So me personally, I would say, yeah, a nice bid for Fabian Ruiz. He's a player that controls the game. Saw that in the Euros. He's a very, very good player. 6 foot plus as well. Got a sweet left foot in him. Very cultured player. I'd like to see a bid going for someone like him, to be honest.
How old's Ugarte now, Jose?
He's very young. Ugarte's 23, 24 years of age.
So he is one I'd put on the list as well.
But it looks like Man United are trying to get hold of him on loan.
Ellie, you got a name for a six? Because someone says we've all got six on the brain tonight, but everybody's been talking in every forum. We need a six, but no one gives me a name that's available that will do the job.
There's a player who plays for my husband's team called Sam Field. He's very good. Honestly, QPR, right? They're a bit underwhelming for him. I think he needs to step up to the Premiership. And he's such a tenacious player. He's physical. He's a very skillful player as well, right? And he's strong in the tackle. He gets QPR going on the front foot. Unfortunately, they haven't got enough good players for him to play with. So, some players, they shine. And I've been watching him, and I think I was talking with my husband about him. I said he'd be really good at Spurs, right? Because sometimes you get a pearl from a lower league team. There's lots of players that have come from lower leagues into the Premiership and shone. I think we may take a punt on him because he won't cost a lot of money, and he's the sort of player that I think could fit in. And he's a very tall player, and he's so strong in the tackle, right? And he can score a goal as well. So that's one from left wing. Obviously, there's more established players that you guys have mentioned. Any one of those that you've mentioned would be a good asset to the team.
Where's Calvin Phillips these days, guys?
Don't even think about it, Adrian.
Adrian, if you're seriously suggesting we sign, I am putting you out of the studio.
I was going to lob a banter grenade in there with McTominay as well, you know what I mean?
Anytime you try and come on my show, you'll be put out. Calvin Phillips, no.
To be honest, the name for me that's been mentioned is Edison.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I need to go. Wait, sorry, I need to go. I've got to
Brian,
get to the cinema. I've got to get to the cinema.
Do you want to go?
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to go. Me and Alana are going to the cinema, and we've got to get going. So, Ian,
Brian, thank you for coming on.
Pleasure, buddy. Pleasure. And obviously, I'll see you in Toronto in a few weeks.
You will. We'll maybe do the show from Toronto.
I'll be looking forward to seeing you. Adrian, see you later. Ellie, Jose, Zookeeper, because I've forgotten your first name. But Tom, you can't forget that fucking nickname, can you? Zookeeper. So, everyone, yes.
Enjoy the cinema. Enjoy the cinema.
See you later. I'm going to the cinema.
On the back seats. On the back seats, Brian.
Brian.
Is everyone to the channel? And as always, Levy out.
But off you go. If anybody wants to know where they can find Brian online, you need to go back to your own planet, I think, because he's on just about every show. Right, look, I think it is time to wrap it up. I'm hoping.
We really enjoyed the show, Ian. Brilliant show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job. Well presented as well. Well presented.
Seriously, we've still got 60 odd, so we've kept the audience as well. But
it's going up.
Don't overrun, and it's time. I need a whiskey. I know we do. Adrian and Ellie, do you want to tell us what shows we've got coming up? I do Sundays, but you do.
Yeah,
Tuesdays,
we do.
Ellie does
For those of
Fridays.
you in the chat and listening on playback, SpursDieHards TTID podcast go out on Tuesday. We do Tuesdays because they will follow the Monday night games on Sky, and we don't clash with that. We do Fridays because now we're in the Europa League. We will be playing Thursday nights, so we can do post-match shows on a Friday on our Europa League games. So all shows go at 8 o'clock, and like Ian will do the 8 o'clock Sunday show, which is post. If we do play on a Saturday, it'll be post Saturday, or it'll be the preview for the Sunday game, or it'll be after the Sunday game, all recording on what time. Sky stitch everyone up with the times for games and whatever. So that's 3. We will eventually be doing. We want to get Chang on. He's another admin. There's 3 of us admins in the top here, but Chang's an admin as well. So we're hoping to get him and Ash on in shows and morning shows. It doesn't matter during the week because us 3 on the top are virtually available because we're retired, or Ian's semi-retired, but me retired. So we will do some morning shows. That will happen. And we're doing good, guys. We're doing well. And it's thanks to you lot in the chat. And it's thanks to our wonderful guests we get on. And all the guests we will have back again because they've all been superb. Right?
Next week, I've already lined up Ashmatic and a new guest, a really good friend of mine, a guy called Jem Silverstone, who I've known for just short of 50 years. Played football with him in the 70s. Went to football with him all over in the 70s. So I'm going to get him on as another fresh pair of eyes. Jose, any last requests before I close off?
No, thank you for having me again, Ian, on a Sunday.
You're brilliant.
And thank you to Adrian and Ellie as well, because you're all part of the channel.
You're welcome.
And yeah, it's nice to be on with you again, Tom. Keep up your good thoughts, mate. Your thoughts are valuable and important. I hope everyone enjoys the comments that you bring to the show. And then if anyone wants to hear any more of me, I can be found at eltel kokeoleol on YouTube, which I've put up. It's about 5 up from where you are now, or 6 up from where you are now. I put a link in there.
Yeah, you give us the numbers, but I know that we've had a good crowd in tonight. Tom, any closing thoughts?
No, I just thank you for having me on the show and letting me rant and rave and say my opinion on things. But it's like a pleasure coming on the show, and I think we need to judge the window when the window ends, but it's frustrating that it's taken so long to get deals done. But I'm excited for our first game of the season. How excited I am after that, we'll see.
We'll have to get father and son on Tom together.
Yeah.
You don't want his opinion. That's fine.
I'd really like to think that when we do this show next week, that there's a couple of new players in, and that's what's going to dominate. We won't have any match to talk about. If there's a behind closed doors friendly, which I suspect there will be, we won't know too much about it other than the score. So it'll just be predicting the team. But right, look, can I thank you all? Can I thank everybody in the chat it's been really, well, from my point of view, it's been a really, really good show, and lots of interesting comments, and if there's just anything else to come in, but lots of really interesting debate in the chat that's been absolutely brilliant to listen to. So the show's on Tuesday, Friday, and I'll be back hosting next Sunday night, 8 p.m. Thank you again for being here.